Number 10, 1975 to 79 Chevrolet Camaro. By the mid-70s, the F-body Chevrolet Camaro was having an identity crisis. Models from the past that evoked nostalgia for performance were lacking now. The Performance Super Sport and RS-SS models were now merely a memory. Although the Camaro during this time was a very handsome and stylish car, performance was definitely lacking. But this was a problem with all American pony cars at the time, with several notable exceptions. None of them could continue offering performance options due to CAFE and safety requirements, as well as rising insurance rates for performance cars. What all the automakers did at the time was quite brilliant. Offer popular models that looked like they have great performance, but they really don't. By the time people were making the scene with cars endowed with wild colors, stripe packages, scoops and spoilers, custom wheels with raised white letter tires, and options like tachometers, sports steering wheel, buckets and console, and more, it didn't matter, because these cars were still really cool. Plus, it was better than not having any cool cars available at all. But enthusiasm for the Camaro never wavered. For 1975, the newest edition, called Type LT, was now available. The LT stood for luxury touring, and when looking at all the standard features, it was quite a bargain. The only other model was the Camaro Sport Coupe. In 1976, the LT soldiered on, while the Rally Sport replaced the Sport Coupe. In 1977, the Sport Coupe returned, replacing the Rally Sport. Again, the Type LT was a bestseller. In 1978, the Z28 returned after a 3-year hiatus, sitting in showrooms next to the Rally Sports and the Type LT Camaros. In 1979, the Type LT was replaced by the new Berlinetta model, but a Z28 and a Rally Sport were the only other two Camaros for the model year. We used the website Old Car Brochures to look at actual sales catalogs, but sometimes the information is available in these publications, so things change. So if our Camaro year and model rundown is not accurate, please let us know in the comments. Number 9, Dodge adult toy line of trucks and vans. Beginning in the mid-70s, Chrysler realized, as did all the other manufacturers, that light-duty pickups were selling more each year. At the time, the van craze was in full swing, too. The Dodge division had several ultra-cool models available when the marketing department hit on the idea of combining all of their various light trucks, vans, and SUVs into one group that would collectively be called the adult toy line. The print ads all showed beautiful people really enjoying life alongside their preferred Dodge vehicles. Instantly recognized by their bright colors and graphics, sporty interiors, and custom wheels, they were the ones to make the scene with if you were a young enthusiast. From 1976 through 1980, these vehicles were already customized from the factory. No need to do it yourself. With a huge variety of body styles, colors, graphics, it was possible to have a unique ride at a very reasonable price. Number 8, 1976 to 79 Dodge Aspen RT and Plymouth Valari Roadrunner. After the last performance-oriented B-body Roadrunner was available in 1975, it was clear that Chrysler would need to go in a different direction. The 75 model was one of the largest ever. Typical of offerings from Detroit at the time, these cars got larger for each new styling cycle. For 1976, the new Dodge Aspen and Plymouth Valari were instant sales successes, but the product planners knew that a certain faction of enthusiasts would still want a model that didn't look like the grocery getters that these new F cars really were. So with some unique color and graphics packages, spoilers, fender flares, rally wheels, and some wild interiors, a market was instantly found for these Malaise-era cars that looked incredibly cool, but lacked in performance due to fuel economy and emission standards. But because they used common drivetrains that Chrysler had available for years prior, The aftermarket speed equipment manufacturers had long ago made things like performance camshafts, aluminum intakes, headers, and so much more available for purchase for the engines that powered these new models. Even someone who had a minimal collection of hand tools and mechanical savvy could easily install most of these bolt-on parts to wake up a small block Mopar engine. And that's exactly what happened. To find an unmodified example today is quite a challenge. They were available through 1980 and are a unique part of the history of Chrysler. We really love them. What do you guys think of them? Let us know in the comments. Number 7. 1975 to 1979 Jeep. Jeeps have been an American icon ever since they conquered the worldwide battlefields of World War II. By 1970, Chrysler had sold the Jeep brand to American Motors, where it would remain until 1987. By this time, the new Jeep division was facing formidable competitors in the sport utility vehicle category that only the International Scout and the Ford Bronco had been in for many years. Now, many foreign trucks were also entering the U.S. market, and GM had developed a line of SUVs to complement their Suburban. 1975 was the final year for the Jeep CJ6. The following year, the CJ7 came along as a bit larger and more refined civilian Jeep. It lasted until 1986, but engineers kept improving them each year. By now, the Jeep CJ series had amassed a cult-like following, something the automakers had rarely, if ever, seen before. To keep up with the ever-growing competitors in the lucrative SUV market, Jeep developed the SJ Cherokee in 1974, and even earlier, a new Jeep pickup. If it hadn't been for this division, parent company AMC would likely have been bankrupt many years earlier than when they sold to Chrysler in 1987. Tell us in the comments which Jeep model is your favorite and why. Number 6. All International Travelalls and Scouts. The International Harvester Company was founded in 1902 after a merger of the McCormick Harvest Machinery Company, the Deering Harvest Company, and 3 smaller firms consisting of Milwaukee, Plano, and Warder, Bushnell, and Glesner. Since their inception, the company has had a long and rich history of producing not only farm-related machinery, but also automobiles, light, medium, and heavy-duty trucks, and even appliances and lawn care equipment as well. But probably the most successful non-farm or truck-related product was the small 2-door SUV vehicle known as the Scout, first built in 1961 and available each year through 1980 when the company was part of a huge merger. Only the second vehicle to take on the legendary Jeep CJ models after World War II, they were a bestseller for International almost immediately. The larger Scout II came out along in 71, and the larger Travelall, in production since 1953, was one of the first larger vehicles in this new four-wheel drive class. It would be the first to have 4 functional doors, making entry and exit very convenient for passengers. Its production ended in 1975. So tell us in the comments which International you prefer and why. Number 5. 1975 to 1979 Ford freewheeling trucks and vans. Ford's response to the ever-increasing preference of buyers to purchase light-duty pickups, vans, and in 1978, a full-size Bronco, was the freewheeling package. Like their Dodge counterparts, these various offerings had almost limitless option packages of colors, graphics, and interiors, so that a buyer could have a custom vehicle without any more effort than visiting his local Ford dealer. Remember, the van craze was huge at the time, and customizing one was all the rage. Ford offered this package through the early 1980s, when the van craze had begun to die out. It was available on various Ford vehicles, including the F-100, the F-150, the Bronco, the Econoline van, and even the Mazda-built Courier. The 2025 Bronco freewheeling models are inspired by the original package, and they feature a similar design. Number 4. 1975 to 79 Volkswagen Beetle. After Ferdinand Porsche designed what would later become the Volkswagen Beetle, the car remained in production until 2003. Factories and various partnerships with other auto companies throughout the world assembled this iconic design for over 65 years. Of course, there were design changes and different specifications throughout this time, but this car is probably the most recognized body style in the world. Even though there were numerous iterations of the basic chassis used for other rear-engine air-cooled VWs, the Beetle lasted the longest. In fact, over 21.5 million cars were built, outnumbering the Ford Model T by over 6 million cars. There has never been, nor will there ever be, a model so popular throughout the world. In the U.S., Beetles were very popular as economic second cars for families on a budget. They were easily repaired by nearly anyone with some basic automotive mechanical skills, and are easily modified into custom cars such as dune buggies, and to this day enjoy an extensive support from the aftermarket. But all good things must come to an end. By the mid-70s, VW had introduced cars like the Golf, known first as the Rabbit, along with the Dasher and the Scirocco, all of which were much more modern at the time and were outselling the Beetle by leaps and bounds. In 1979, Volkswagen produced its final convertible Beetle, and soon importing them into the States would cease. Even after all these years later, many people still love the Beetle. There are car clubs all over the world dedicated to their memory. There are even several magazine titles for enthusiasts. Did you ever have a Beetle, or maybe knew someone who did? Tell us about it in the comments. Number 3. 1975 to 1979 Chrysler Cordoba. Starting in the late 60s, American car manufacturers inadvertently created a new market known as personal luxury. By the early 70s, every make had what was considered an offering in this category. This new market niche is best described as a larger two-door car where comfort was emphasized much more than performance. Features like plenty of interior and trunk space, available with a huge number of options so that each car could be custom tailored for each buyer, like leather interiors, state-of-the-art audio systems, vinyl tops, moonroofs, model-specific wheels or wheel covers, pinstriping, heavy-duty suspension, better brakes, and white wall or raised white letter tires, to name but a few. The Chrysler Cordoba was an instant sales success. They were handsome cars that were quite affordable for the folks that wanted a personal luxury car at the time. Usually younger, rising in the ranks of their chosen professions, they had discretionary income, and they still longed to look and feel cool. In a brilliant marketing move, Chrysler's ad agency hired legendary Mexican-American actor Ricardo Montalban to be the car's spokesperson. Montalban was very familiar to American audiences, having made countless memorable appearances in both films and television. With his handsome good looks, an air of culture and sophistication, and an intriguing accent, he was absolutely perfect in that role. Add to that the catchphrase of Corinthian leather for seating surfaces, and you have a surefire top-selling model. The Cordoba soldiered on until 1983, when it was undoubtedly the epitome of a personal luxury car. Number 2, 1977 Pontiac CanAm. By 1977, General Motors had a hugely successful line of full-size personal luxury coupes that would later be known as Colonnade cars. Even though they shared the same platform, they were uniquely different to each division, and even within those divisions, several models evolved. It may not have been GM's most prolific series, but countless millions of cars shared the A platform from 1973 to 77 before a downsizing was necessary. The Pontiac division of GM had always been known for their performance automobiles, So management decided that even though Pontiac was having great success with the F-body Firebird and Trans Am cars at the time, they needed an image car for the customers seeking a bit bigger and more refined vehicle. At the time, many automakers were successfully producing and selling specialty models with the help of small independent shops who had the facilities, skilled personnel, and locations easily accommodate Detroit's need for their services. This has been a successful formula since the 1960s, with shops like Shelby American, Baldwin Motion, Dearborn Steel Tubing, Hearst, and Yenko, to name a few, who took specially assembled vehicles and then modified them to either manufacturer or customer specs. Pontiac had been associated with Jim Wangers ever since he raced a car for them clear back in 1959. Throughout the 60s, Wangers brilliantly promoted the GTO, and by the mid-70s he had a shop near Detroit called Motortown. This shop had successfully modified many different cars for their big three clients, most notably the 1976 Mustang Cobra II for Ford. Wangers proposed Pontiac would send Motortown a basic white Le Mans that his firm would then add a shaker scoop, spoilers, wheel flares, quarter window louvers, and special graphics to create a car that people looking for performance-looking cars would buy. And buy they did. Powered by either the standard Pontiac 400 engine, California and high-altitude cars got the 403 Olds instead. All cars came with an automatic transmission. Pontiac initially ordered 5,000 units, and to keep costs down, the cars would only be available in white. Standard all-vinyl interior colors were black, red, and white. Many available options that could be had on the Le Mans could also be ordered for the Can-Am, although the Can-Am was nicely equipped when built. The name is derived from the Canadian-American Racing Association. Legend has it that the fiberglass rear spoiler mold irreparably broke, halting production at just over 1,000 cars. A proposed downsized 78 Le Mans with the Can-Am package was proposed, but never produced. These cars have become highly collectible and are gaining in value. If production hadn't ended as abruptly as it did, it's fun to speculate on what Pontiac would have done in the coming years with this beautiful model. Number 1. Pontiac Trans Am Special Edition, or Bandit. Despite Pontiac dropping the Super Duty option for the Firebird models in 1974, sales of both GM F-cars were strong. The 455 did make a brief appearance in 1975, but not as a Super Duty model, but rather an HO model. Only available in the Trans Am and standard with a 4-speed manual transmission, not many were sold because they really weren't publicized. By 1976, would also have a special 50th anniversary Trans Am that would capture the attention of many pony car buyers. All were black and had a special package of exclusive gold graphics and were heavily equipped from the factory, making only a few options available. These Y82 option cars are the handsomest offering from all automakers that year. They were big sellers, and it's this same car that inspired the filmmakers of the 1977 smash movie Smokey and the Bandit to use a black and gold Trans Am for their movie. However, by the time filming commenced, the 77 model was what they could get. Now looking decidedly different than their Camaro cousins with quad square headlamps and different spoilers and wheel flares, even the standard Firebird sold well in 1977. Pontiac continued with a special edition black and gold car for the next few years, and after the success of the film, Pontiac couldn't build enough of them to meet the extraordinary demand. Enthusiasts often incorrectly refer to these special edition cars as bandit cars because of the movie. The 1978 styling was virtually unchanged, but there was another complete restyling in 1979. Still retaining all of the signature cues, the Trans Am got another special model to celebrate the 10th anniversary. This body style was retained for 2 more years when in 1982, Both F cars at GM were completely and totally re-engineered and restyled. Well, that concludes our list. Which ones are your favorite and why? Tell us in the comments. Be sure to check out all the links below to see cars that fit into all of these categories. See you next week, and thanks for watching.